Welcome. I'm so excited today to have our guest, Krista Garen, on. Welcome, Krista.
Hi, Colleen. Thanks so much for having me with you today. I'm so excited.
Yes, I feel like it was Kismet that we met, right? And that God, energy, alignment, whatever, higher source power, whatever people call that, for me, it's God, put you into my life at a certain time and place, right? And I'm just so excited to have you here and honored. I'm going to tell our audience a little bit about you so they can kind of see what maybe your past experience has been and why I'm so excited to have you on the show. And so I'm going to just read a few things that, like, from your bio that you sent me. And my real goal in life is to empower people, but especially women, but men too, to take financial control of their lives and invest in real estate as their, use real estate as their vehicle, and to live a life they love and to have an impact on the world long term, when they, even after they die. So, and that's why I'm just so excited, because I know you know so much about that. And so this is a little bit about Krista. Okay, you guys. She's a change agent, a relationship strategy and operations specialist, an entrepreneur and corporate program manager, a real estate investor, coach, and mentor. She's analyzed over 5,000 real estate deals, you guys. That is like a ton. She was a cast member of HGTV's Flip It to Win It. So she is like a famous TV star. And then I'm just going to read a little bit more, but this is, you guys don't even understand. I spent an hour on Zoom with her, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I get to be friends with Krista. So, and this is more about her. She has a background in sales and product software. She was in corporate America, and she has a passion for helping others, has helped connect and assist others in finding solutions to positively impact their lives and businesses. She's a change agent and is a relationship strategy and operations specialist. Anyway, you guys, she was on that flipping on TV. So welcome, gorgeous.
Hi, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Tell us, can you just tell us in a little bit about, like, I have some questions for you, but like, just like, maybe if you feel comfortable to share maybe about like your growing up. I just love to like find out a little bit about people. Like, were your parents real estate moguls, and like you just thought, oh, that's for me too, I'm just going to do that, or kind of just a little bit about your background?
Oh gosh, real estate moguls. No, they did buy and sell houses, but they were ones that we lived in. My parents were actually into horses. They bred Arabians when I was growing up. So I had the really unique privilege of growing up riding and showing horses. So I started when I was 5, and I still ride. I'm not actively showing right now, but it's still like the major passion in my life, along with all of the other sports activities that I do. I'm an outdoor enthusiast and a little bit of an adrenaline junkie when it comes to sports and trying things. In fact, I tried snowboarding last week, and I think I fell down about 20 times.
You did?
Yes, I did. I went up with my boyfriend, and we went up to Snow Bowl, and just it was a great day and not such a great day, all in the same day. Weather made it very difficult for us to get up there, and both of us took some pretty hard spills. But I'm always up for a good challenge. I love a good challenge. So grew up riding.
Huh?
Oh no! So I was just saying, I grew up riding and showing horses. Real estate came later.
Later. I love that you grew up with horses. I feel like horses are so beautiful, and they're so therapeutic, and you can really connect with them.
Yeah.
When the snowboarding thing, I felt like you said like you fell and had to get up and down a lot of times. I feel like that's kind of like an analogy in life, right? If you want to be successful and an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And one of the people asked this question. They said, in the beginning must have been difficult. Was there anything you went through that gave you your superpower? That was one of the questions.
Okay, so in the beginning of real estate investment, it was difficult. Like Colleen, when we talked initially, I told you I was one of the first people to ever have to short sale a house after getting kind of sideswiped by what happened in the real estate market back in 2008. But when I saw what you could really accomplish with real estate investment, and literally anybody of any background and any socioeconomic status could just get in where they fit in, that really gave me a lot of courage, I think, to step forward and to try. I think sometimes when we've been knocked down a lot, it's difficult sometimes to stand up and try again. And I think as people, we all can fall victim to saying some pretty negative things to ourselves. So one of the things that was so key for me getting started and having that courage was having people around me that were positive and supportive, that knew something about what I was trying to do and kind of blazed that path in front of me. And were there saying, you know what, here's the information you need. And we're standing right here. As you execute, we're going to walk with you. We're going to stay with you until your confidence grows. And what I've learned and discovered is that when you're trying something new, if you have a great coach or a mentor, or even just really positive friends and family in your life, each time you take a step and you have success, even if it's just 1%, 2%, your confidence really starts to grow. And when your confidence starts to grow, you stand a little taller. And each time you stand up and stand a little taller, I think just like you're saying, you become a little braver. And the more bravery you have, the more courage, the more hope, and it all just starts to cycle backwards on itself. It picks up a momentum of its own that, is divine. You mentioned you thought, God had something to do with us coming together and meeting. And I fully believe that is me too. I had sat for a while and I'd been having these dreams. We talked about my dreams of wanting to speak to people and speak into their life and share whatever I could that would be helpful to them. And then boom, here you and I get connected and now here we are. So yeah.
And you're speaking, right?
And I'm speaking.
And it's so powerful how it works. We have to have clarity on what we want. And you were thinking about like speaking, right? And
yes.
my total mission is to empower women and people, all people, but mostly in the real estate world, it's mostly men. And I go to real estate investment seminars and it's like a token woman up there or two. And I just really, I feel called in my heart because I have 2 grandchildren. They're teeny tiny little grandchildren, right? Granddaughters. And I want them to know that they can do anything and become anything because their grandma did it, right? And she changed the landscape of real estate investment and made more women have access. And I just love that we got aligned, right? And I like how God brings people together, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. God's timing is always perfect.
Even when it's not, right? Because sometimes like the short sale didn't seem like it was a good thing for you, right? I remember short sales, right?
Oh, it was really rough because I remember back then feeling like I had somehow failed. I had failed in my journey because every other real estate transaction I had ever done, my mom and I had started buying and selling houses together. We would purchase them, move in, renovate a little bit, keep for a while, let it appreciate, and then sell and move on to something else. This was when I was in my late teenage years, early 20s. And I really thought I knew how all of that worked. And then when the market crashed, I had my own web design and hosting company at the time, and clients stopped spending money. And I started realizing, oh goodness, this doesn't necessarily work the way that I had thought. Everything the realtors at that point had been speaking into my life just was not coming to pass. And I had to do some pivots and make some decisions. It was a very tough time. There were some dark moments, definitely some low moments. And I really discovered just how hard on myself. I think we're our own worst critic, our own worst enemies at times. The things we say to ourselves when we think we're failing, it can be very dark.
Yeah. And in fact, I think when we look in the mirror, the tendency is to look for the criticism and be unkind to ourselves. And we need to be cheering ourselves on and be our biggest cheerleader. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. It really taught me that you have to celebrate the small wins. You really do. You have to, at the end of every day, I say my prayers at night before I go to bed. And not only do I thank God for the blessings in my life, sometimes those blessings are the things that don't exactly go right. Those are the uncomfortable growth moments when you know that you are coming closer to achieving your purpose, but you don't get there by being comfortable. So without trials, without those darker, lower moments, we don't learn, we don't grow, we don't necessarily find and achieve our purpose. So I'm grateful to you for the hard times as well.
Yeah. What's interesting is I remember when I was really young, a lady got up at church. We were brand new married people. I've been married, I think 36 years next month. And I was at church. Isn't that amazing? Yay, us. It's a miracle. And you know what's so funny? This lady got up at church, and in our faith, you on the first Sunday of the month, we fast and we don't eat, and we donate the money to the poor, and the church uses it to help the poor people. And it's interesting, but also, no, we don't have any speakers that day. You can just get up and bear your testimony of Jesus and get up and share an experience. And this woman got up, and I remember her name was Minnie Rich. I can even remember her name. That's how much it really impacted me. And she got up and said how grateful she was for all her adversity and trials in her life. And I'm like, why would you say that? That's the worst thing I've ever heard. Like, I was young and had no experience, right? I was 20, So anyway, I feel like when you can get to a point in your life where you appreciate the adversity, because like you said, you're in a dark place, then a lot of people give up. What kind of skills and tools did you use during those dark times, or do you use on a daily basis to help you go from those feelings of negativity or darkness or despair to hope and feeling empowered and taking action? Because you can be all excited, but if you don't take any imperfect, uncomfortable action, you're not going to see any results. So what are some tips and tools you have for our listeners to help them move forward?
Absolutely. So when I was first learning real estate investment, I remember my teachers saying to me, the more fun you're having when you're learning something, the more it's going to stick with you. So in those moments when I would get scared, I would literally turn on the playlist from our educational event that we were at, and I would stand up and dance around my office. I would dance around until I could get back into that frame of mind, into that feeling as though I were right there. I would also pick up the phone and reach out to people that I had met at that event, reach out to my coaches, to my mentors, and just be really very honest about what I was experiencing or what I was going through. I find that if we're not honest with ourselves about how we're feeling and how we're really doing, then the people around us, God puts those people in our life, I firmly believe, to be there as a helping hand. They can't help us the way that they're meant to. So it starts with, I think, being really honest about how we're doing, how we're feeling. For me, it was music. I love music. So I could easily connect myself back into that state of being when I was there and regenerate that excitement. If that wasn't enough, I'm also on the phone talking to people that I know actually care about me and care about my success. And I think the other thing that I had was this commitment, this promise to myself that if I was afraid of it, I was going to move closer to it. So with horses, we have this concept called move closer, stay longer. When a horse is afraid of something, you kind of want to travel them past it, not force them up to it, but travel them past, then take them away, then let them turn around and reassess. And it sounds silly, but I found myself doing the same thing. If I was afraid of it, then I took a step toward it. Then I would assess, reevaluate. Can I take another step and another step? But I made sure that I was taking steps every day, no matter what I was doing. I never let myself off the hook that way. And I think we have to hold ourselves accountable, and we have to ask for people in our life to hold us accountable to the things we say we want to achieve. And we have to never, never take our foot off the gas.
Yes, I think accountability is so important, and being honest with ourselves. I'm so glad you shared that, because if you lie to yourself about what you're doing, right? If we lie to ourselves, then the results, you'll never get the results you want, because if you make lying to yourself a habit, you're going to not, if you have big goals and dreams, right? Which I do, and I know you have achieved, and you have even bigger goals coming, right? New seasons. But when we lie to ourselves, we just get complacent, and you think, because you can get really busy doing nothing, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a great way to say it. You can be really efficient, but not effective. And the goal is to be both efficient and effective with whatever you're trying to do. There were also books that I read at the time that were helpful. One book in particular called The Slight Edge. And this book made a huge difference to me. And when I was still mentoring people through real estate, it was the first thing I said: you've got to get a copy of this book. You've got to read it. We're all walking this edge. The concept is no matter what you're doing, you're walking that edge, right? Either positive or negative. You're either moving in the direction you want to go and want to go towards, or the steps you're taking each day are moving you away from that. So whatever steps you're taking, even if they're little, just make sure you're on that positive slight edge, that 1% to 2% every day. And that concept, when I really put it together, in 6 months, you're 180 you're 180 steps farther away from where you were and closer to where you want to go. So that's 180% improvement. In a year, it's 365% improvement. Just 1% a day. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it compounds. It adds up.
Oh, I have never read that book, and I will order it today. Well, when I say John Lowe will order it for me because I don't know how to do Amazon yet. I'm going to learn eventually, but John will get it for me. And you know what's so funny is the slight edge. And I like in church, we talk about that. Like you're either moving closer or further away from where you want to be, right?
Yes.
And I think that no one in school ever taught us about taking that 1% better every day and taking those small little things because they do compound over time.
Yeah, they do. And giving yourself credit. We have to celebrate those things as we achieve them. It's not these massive steps of action that make a difference. It's the small steps that we are consistently performing day over day over day that begin to bring real change into our life and the kind of momentum, that we're looking for. And so the other thing that I do is I write those truths down and I keep them where I can see them. So if I'm second guessing, if I'm feeling doubtful, if I'm feeling anxious, I reach for that piece of paper that has my truth on it, what I know to be real about my situation, what I've achieved and how far I've come. And that makes a big difference for me. And I've heard others say it makes a big difference for them too.
It's interesting. Yesterday, I had a coaching session with someone that I've never had a coaching session with before, but I liked her. She does hypnotherapy, anyway. So I spent 2.5 hours with her yesterday, and it's interesting. I haven't printed it out yet, but she sent me a sheet of all the things that I'm manifesting and working towards and progressing towards. Yeah. And she told me, I want you to keep this in your bathroom, next to your bed table, and on your desk. So she told me.
Yeah, you keep it front and center so that you can see it.
Mm-hmm. So that is a great tip for all of the people listening is make sure you celebrate your small wins. I think celebrate for how far you've come, right? Don't just keep focusing forward, but look at like how much progress have I made, right?
Yes.
And then how did you get into being on TV? Like how did that transition happen?
Yeah, that's, manifest is the only word I can use for that. I remember sitting in the room with everybody and they were talking to us about a TV show that our mentor at the time wanted to do. And I was sitting next to my mom and I remember turning to her and saying, I'm going to get on TV. I'm going to get on that show. I wanted to be on that show. As it turns out, it wasn't that show that I got on, but it was, again, all those small steps that I was taking with my investing activity over in the Bay Area. It just happened to be, again, somewhat divine. HGTV had a production company that was out looking for teams of investors. They were looking for 6 different teams. And they approached us after seeing a lot of what we were doing over there. And we were just in multiple cities. And so they flew me out to California. So I was living here in Arizona at the time. And we met and talked and did some screen testing. And, they did what is called a sizzle, which is like a 2-minute teaser, gave that back to HGTV. And we waited about 2 or 3 weeks and then got the call that, yes, they were going to green light the series. So then after that, they followed us around literally for 1.5 years. I could not believe how much filming you actually have to do just to get a minute's worth of actual footage that makes it into a cut of something. It's a lot. So they followed us around for 1.5 years, chronicled everything we were doing, and then pushed the show live with 12 episodes. So it was amazing. I loved it. What I loved about it was we got to be real about what we were doing. And I wanted people to see and to know that real estate investment is something that anybody can do. And I don't care how much money you have. There's so many different methodologies for it, so many different strategies, so many different ways to get in. I wanted people to know that it was accessible. And that it was accessible not just to men, because you're right. When you walk into some of these rooms, you've gone to seminars, you're going to see teams largely comprised of men, but there are so many great, strong, powerful women out there who are investing as well. And I wanted people to see that it was possible.
I love that. Isn't it amazing?
It made a huge difference in my life. And I think we talked a little bit about this the first time we talked, where I said it really grew me in ways I was not anticipating. You know, you really come face to face with who you are when you're then attempting to help other people grow themselves into the very best version of what they want to be also. So I was very, very thankful for that opportunity and to be able to work with so many different people, and help them on their investing journey too. And so excited for you and your investing journey. Like, and that conversation we had, that's amazing.
You know what's so fun, Krista, is that being on this journey is I'm learning so much about myself. I woke up this morning, I told God, isn't it great that there's so much I don't know yet that I get to learn? And it is so exciting, right? That as it unfolds and really just making it fun, like you were talking about, because every day I wake up and instead of being scared, I'm just so excited to embrace it all.
Yes.
And as I'm being fun about it and progressing into it and just taking that one step, because I always ask myself, okay, what's the next step, right? And it's so funny that you said that, because a phone call didn't go well recently and we are ending up purchasing this house, but a phone call didn't go well, and I didn't really want to pick up the phone, and to call again, and it was heavy, like the phone felt like, sometimes this phone can feel like it's like 500 pounds.
Oh, yes. I know exactly
what you mean.
Yeah. Oh, I have experienced that. And I've seen my students experience that at times too. Yes.
Yeah. But I'm so glad that I was anchored back to a song. I have an ABBA song that I just love, Winter Takes It All. And I'm really anchored to that. And then with my kids, with my grandchildren. And so I played that full blast in my head. And then I pulled up a video of my granddaughters. And I'm like, okay, Colleen, pick up that dang phone. We're in, right? Are you in or not? Right? I have to be real with myself. You say that you're in, but are you in when you're scared? What are you doing when you're scared, right?
Yeah.
And I picked up the phone and it worked out.
Well, and that you're right. That phone can be very, very heavy at times. And that was something that I saw my students go through. And to kind of, this sounds really silly, but to break the ice with them and to get them kind of in that mood of being able to somewhat laugh at themselves and not be so serious about it, I would actually have them stand up and do the Superman pose for about 3 minutes before they had to make the call, because there's some science around posing like that and then feeling like you can really take on the world. So when I would go out and meet with them in person, and I'd be like, all right, we're going to start calling realtors. We're going to start asking people to be part of your power team. And we're going to sell them on why that's going to be so powerful for what they want to achieve in their life. I'm going to show you how to do it. And then you're going to take the reins. We're going to do it together. And eventually you're going to do it alone. But I would make them stand with me in a Superman pose, and they would laugh and giggle like, this is so silly. Why are we doing this? But later I had several come back to me and say, anytime I felt doubt, I just stood up and I stood tall like Superman, and it went away within a minute or two. And I was good to go after that. So I've had a lot of people say, you just never know what's going to work for somebody. But I do it to this day, even. I still get.
I love that. I start doing the Superman pose.
Yeah, stand up in the Superman pose.
I love that. In fact, tell us a little bit more about. I know because you're so multifaceted. You also coached a lot of people.
Yes.
Tell us about coaching. I know a lot of people in real estate maybe want to get into the coaching business. Just tell us more about that and the impact, and how would someone maybe even make that kind of a transition?
So you mean going into the real estate education space as a coach? Yeah, it's, I think that space is getting wider and wider and wider, especially now that we've moved away from only doing things as live events, as where you go into a room and you're sitting with other people. We have so many wonderful virtual media forms, such as this one that you and I are sharing right now. I think, really what you want to do is find your educators or mentors who are working on something that you want to work on. Reach out to them, let them know that you're interested. Let them know that you're interested in not only being a student, or if you're beyond, just even that initial learning phase and you're actively doing something with real estate and you want to be part of it, maybe even ask if there's a way that you can volunteer and help out in an event that they're doing. So when you and I talked, that was something I think that you did. And oh my goodness, look at what's happening now. So what I would say is get in and offer to help somehow. even if it's just signing people up at an event or taking some phone calls or reaching out and finding out what people need, I would say contact someone who's already teaching and ask them what they need in their business. And what I found is anytime you reach out and ask somebody what they need and what you can do to help, whatever it is you're looking for comes very quickly to follow after that. It just seems to magically find its way to you.
Yeah. You know what? When you add value to other people from where
Yes.
you are, don't ask somebody, hey, how can I help you? Right? Because you just created a new job for that person, right? But figure out, how can I add value and,
Yeah.
and offer that value? Like, yeah, do the sign up sheet, right? Or host whatever it is that you can do to help them. It makes a huge difference. But when we ask people, oh, what can I do to help you? Well, you just gave them a new job and they're already super busy, you know?
Can
So
be,
be
yeah.
creative and think, right? What was I going to say here? Oh, I want to just look at some of these notes that people asked, right?
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Oh, somebody asked about what does she do when she's in the hard part of a deal, project, or phase? I think we talked about that, right? Let's see.
Wow, gosh, I could tell you some tales. It's going to happen, right? So nobody bats 1,000, and there have definitely been moments when things got hard. I've had situations where, markets changed and houses didn't sell, so we were holding for longer than we thought we were going to. Or where somebody had promised to come forward and want to put money into a deal and then backed out at the last minute. I had a house under contract once that was going through probate, that at the last minute, the judge said, no, you can't use financing. It has to be closed all cash. So what I would say is 2 words: don't panic. That's always the first thing. Is don't panic. I think, and initially, like, there's that moment where when you get the news that something's not going to go right, where all of us kind of go, I think as individuals, we tend to tense up. So my first thing is don't panic. The second is continue breathing, and slow everything down, slow the pace down, slow the energy down, so that you can take a look at what your options are, because you always have options. So I wish there was a little more context to the question in terms of, like, what do they consider to be a hard situation? But what I would say is don't panic, keep breathing, slow the energy and the pace down, reach out to those around you that have walked this path already. Ask for their counsel and their guidance. And even if you're someone who's spiritual or religious, pray about it. Pray and ask for assistance, ask for enlightenment, ask for that moment of clarity, because in those situations when things get hard, that's really what we're searching for, is clarity. We need to keep to the goal and remember what we're doing and why we're doing it, and that there is a solution. We just have to slow down for 1 second so that we can go faster to find it.
Yes, I think that's so important, because when you start to panic, your breath gets more shallow, and your heart's pounding faster. And
Yes.
when we slow down a little, get recentered,
Yes.
it really helps, right?
Yes. It helped
And
me.
there are going to be stuff.
Oh, there's always going to be stuff. If you're going to stay in the real estate investing space, just depending upon what's going on in the market, you're going to encounter curveballs. So get really comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the first thing, is you just, and know that you're growing in those moments, and that no time you spend in that place of being uncomfortable is ever wasted. And I know our first instinct as humans is, how do I get out of this? I just want to go back to feeling comfortable. But those are the moments that you want to savor for later, because that's where learning comes from. And then wisdom. And that's really what we're all seeking, is wisdom.
Gosh, isn't it true? I know sometimes I have to tell my brain, you're safe.
Right. Exactly. Even a
you're
simple,
safe. You're okay.
Yeah, you're safe. You're okay. Even if you feel uncomfortable in this moment, don't panic. Don't try to rush out of it. Don't skip the lesson. Whatever's there, don't skip the lesson.
Yeah, it's so true, right? Okay, I'm going to we have some more questions for you.
Sure. I love questions.
Yeah. It says here, someone wants to know, what are your top 3 character traits, mindset, or behavior, or actions, or skills that have contributed most to your success?
Oh, my top 3. Oh, wow. I would say being growth minded, a constant student of life, and never wanting to be the smartest person in the room. I always tried to surround myself with people that I thought were a lot more successful so that it gave me something to strive towards, to reach towards. So always having people around me that I knew I wanted to emulate. Being organized, right? So not only having the right team of people around me, but investing in my own education. And that included on how to organize myself into getting things done during the day. You said something earlier, Colleen, about you can be busy doing a whole lot of nothing. So it was really important to me that I had someone speaking into my life saying, no, these are the activities. If you want to accomplish, X, Y, and Z, you need to be doing A, B, and C every single day, rinse and repeat, and continue doing these things, whether it was once, twice, or 3 times a day. And the last one, might be kind of surprising, but it was really being grateful for everything that I experienced, whether it was easy or whether it was super challenging. And I think just so being growth minded, surrounding myself with the right people, continuing to stay organized and take action, and then being grateful for whatever came, I found that combination of things really helped propel me forward, good times and bad.
I love that. That's a great combination. And I do feel like when I first got into real estate as an agent, I thought I was in the business of selling houses, right? And then I went to a class, I don't remember who it was, but I learned that I was in a lead generation business.
Yes, you are. And people. It's people. It's really all about people, right? Because and closing, quite honestly, everything we do is non-sales selling. So you're convincing people that you are the best solution to whatever issue they're facing.
Yes. And I had no idea because I was a teacher before I sold real estate. And just someone told me, oh, you'd be really good at selling real estate. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I could ever sell anything to anybody. That is really what my response was. And it's so funny is I used to really be into working out, and they used to have challenges, those Body for Life challenges, where that guy, Brad Phillips, I think was his name. Anyway, I entered a body weightlifting contest, if you can believe it. And I worked out in my garage, and other people would come work out with me in the garage. Yeah. And one of the top realtors' wives would work out, and she was a realtor too, but she would come work out with me, right? And people knew I was trying to figure out what to do. I knew I wanted to quit teaching and I wanted to do something else. And so I stopped by an open house, and she spent about a half hour trying to talk me out of selling real estate because I was asking her some questions about it. And she told me it would be a horrible decision. And so it's so funny, as I got in the car and I called John, I said, I figured out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I'm going to sell real estate because so-and-so thinks I would be good at it because she just tried to talk me out of it.
I love it.
And it's so funny because we don't see ourselves, right? Like, I don't think we always see ourselves as we are, what our gifts and talents are, right? And I think that that when we consistently learn and grow, right? Because then that set me on a journey of learning that, right? And closing, I didn't know what closing was, right? But I actually used to use candy and pizza parties to close the kids, right? Because I used to teach 7th grade. But but I learned a different skill set, right? To be a closer at the table, right? And to find out, how can I solve this person's problem? What is their biggest problem? And then how can I solve it, right? Yes. And I think, and that's a key thing that we don't realize, that it's a growth, right? We have to grow.
It is. Well, I think when you're in the business of helping people, a lot of times when people come to you, they're in a certain degree of pain. It might be emotional pain, financial pain. You just never really know what's going on with someone. And there is, I think, something we all could be better at is understanding how to help people talk honestly about where they are, in a way that they're not, we should never be ashamed to ask for help. We should never be ashamed to admit that there's something that we can't do or that, we need assistance with. But I find for a lot of people and students that I had encountered when I was still mentoring, is that was a very difficult piece for them to share. And sometimes so difficult, it prevented them from taking action in their life. And so what I quickly learned when I was, meeting with people was, if I could get to the root of what their pain was and help them share it in a way that they could release it to some extent, realize that doesn't have to stop them from moving forward. Suddenly, when they felt like they could connect to another individual and share that, and someone was saying, that's okay, right? Everything you're feeling, it's okay. And you can still take action on your own behalf. And each time you do, what you're feeling over here is going to feel less and less and less as we help move you forward. You would see them kind of light up, because I think, again, sometimes we're our own worst enemy, and we let whatever we're feeling actually stop us from moving forward. We tell ourselves, well, I don't deserve to achieve that, or gosh, no one else is going to see me that way. And sometimes it starts with somebody else seeing you, seeing all of your gifts, all the special things you bring to the table, and validating that for you, sharing that with you, so that you can begin to see yourself that way and then take action. And then you're doing it for yourself after a while. That's one of the biggest hurdles I saw with people coming into real estate investment. They just, their own things just getting in the way of what they wanted to achieve.
Yes, the stories they tell themselves that aren't true.
Oh, yes. We've all had those. I think we've all worked on those too. That was one of the things, coincidentally enough, that we would work on immediately with people was, when you're going to fail, what are the 3 things or 2 things that you tell yourself? And I don't want the super sunny version of, I'll just get right back up and get going. No, I want to hear the really dark stuff. I want to know what it is you say to yourself. That's got to come out so you can go forward. And that was just a huge exercise. And I saw people just catapult forward after being able to, to leave that at the table where they were sitting. It was like, once they had said it, they were done with it. They could move on, they could move forward. But good coaches, like you said, they see us, they see our blind spots, but they also see what we're capable of. And we need that. We need people who can see all the gifts we have, and they're willing to tell us that as we move forward and to support us in that journey.
Yeah, I think I pay for high level coaching, and I do feel like paying for high level coaching is life changing. I think people
Yes.
Really underestimate the value of getting in those rooms and having someone that's further ahead of the path than you that can help guide you and tell you, like my whole business, you can't see it, but it's all mapped out. My whole life, my coach came and she said, I told her what all my goals and dreams are. And she's like, you're going to work on this first and you're going to work on this next. And she literally mapped out my whole next 10 years or 5 years over here. And the cool thing is that I'm slowly chipping away at it. Right.
Yeah.
And it gave me I think when people don't have clarity, they don't take the action forward, and move forward. Another thing that I was really curious about, because I know we have a common friend, and
yes.
and I messaged, Pace, which, he's changed my life because he created a space in the community that makes it, his goals and dreams are so big that my goals and dreams actually fit inside of his, right? And it's making it really tangible and easy for me to navigate and learn the things that were blind spots for me. And how did you become a wealth manager? I know you managed a lot of people's wealth and assets, and I don't know exactly what you did or in that space, but how does that work? And how do people, just tell me more about that. And what did you learn from that?
Yeah. So I was program managing for a company that did nationwide property management. And what they asked me to come in and do was build a program for high net worth real estate investors who wanted to treat real estate like a business rather than a hobby. And to come up with a way to help them really understand, am I making any money in this business? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If you're going to get into real estate investment, that means that you've got an idea of how much money you'd like to make and the time horizon for when you want to make it. But I think one thing that's really challenging, especially with people who invest in cash flow properties, is if you have a property management company, they're not necessarily going to assign you someone who can look at all of the decisions, all the financial decisions that are made on a property throughout the year, and then boil that down to your net cash flow and say, is what I'm making on this particular property actually, again, traveling me on that slight positive edge towards where you or I, in whatever case, if it's your investments or mine, where I want to go. And so what I did for them was construct a program that was dual-sided. We're managing their properties, and we're also putting them with an asset manager who's looking at that and working with them every 90 days to look at what's happening in the portfolio and base that and benchmark it against where the real estate market actually is. So when we get into properties and we want to stay there long term, usually it's for a reason. Either it's appreciation or it's cash flow or it's both. But then we have to also pair that with watching the market, because if we say I want a certain amount of cash flow for 3 years, but when appreciation hits a certain point, I want to exit out, take that cash and put it into something else. Someone's got to be watching that in the background, because if you're a very active real estate investor, your job is to acquire more properties. It's to create relationships, network, generate money, and watch out for whatever contractors are working on your properties. So you need people in the back watching your back. So that's how I came to be working with Pace, as Pace was part of that program. He was somebody that, I worked a lot with his two main gals, and that's what we were doing, was watching the decisions on their properties and also watching what was happening with the financials in the background. That combination together, very, very powerful. So if you're out there investing in cash flow and you don't have an asset manager, I'd highly recommend, working with one.
Yes, because I think that it's so true, because when you're so focused on contractors and deals and and putting out fires and employees and what's going on, and maybe tenants and whatever all is going on, and acquiring new assets, there's so much going on that the back end can be forgotten about, right? Especially some people have 500 doors, 5,000 doors, whatever it is. The more you grow, the more there is to it, right? And then things can fall between the cracks. You
Yes.
need a bigger team of people and programs and systems to help manage all of that.
Yes, you do. You do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Isn't that amazing? You're just amazing. Okay. Let's see what other questions we have, because a lot of people wanted to know some more stuff from you. Okay.
Sure.
You want to pick your brain. Okay. How do you approach risk management in real estate investments, and what advice would you give to those looking to navigate the challenges in the industry?
Oh, wow. Risk management. So I love that term, risk management. So I used to say to people, we're not gambling when we go into real estate investment. We are investing. That means we have a system for doing things, and that includes how we make decisions on things. So for me, for what I was doing, we had a certain amount of money that we needed to generate, a certain return on investment for each transaction that we were going forward into. So in the initial stages, you talked a little bit about I'd analyzed over 5,000 deals. Yes, we pull the numbers together. We take a look at everything and we break it down to the financials. We also look at that against the market. Are we going to be able to achieve, and what we were doing was flipping properties, resale on that property in the amount of time that we've projected, so that we're projecting the financial outcome that we want. And if the answer looked like yes, and it was backed up with market data, not by one realtor, not by two, but by three, right? And we had commitments from people who were stepping forward with money, and everyone's coming to the table saying, these numbers look good. Then at each phase of our due diligence, as we would receive more information, we would reevaluate and choose to move forward. If at any point something didn't line up with the overall outcome the way that it was supposed to, then the answer was no, we exit out. So our motto was safety, speed, and money, in that order, always safety. So you stick to your system. I think the biggest thing that I've seen people struggle with is pulling some content from one educator, some from another, some from another. They end up in a hybrided system, right? But if you can find an educator like you did that you trust, and that system's working, and you can stick with it step by step by step and stay close to their team, when you experience something you're not familiar with, they're going to be able to step in and look and say, okay, well, tell me every single thing you did, and find any spot in there where you might have slightly deviated, which might be causing results that you don't want. So it's sticking to your system.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good. And making sure that you stick to it. And when it doesn't look good, you walk away. You cannot be emotionally attached to a deal.
That's right. You absolutely walk, because there's going to be another one and another one and another one. And when people put their emotions into this, is when, mistakes begin to be made. So you have to almost separate yourself, compartmentalize your feelings, and the desire for money. I will say that, because there are certain people who have very competitive personality types. They're really wanting to generate a lot of money very, very quickly. And sometimes even just that desire can get in the way. So you have to be able to put your feelings aside, stick to the numbers, stick to the system, and handle your business.
Yeah. And I do think we have to be careful of people's intentions and listen, especially to intuition about people. Like if you get a negative vibe or if you feel something, you got to really start trusting your gut and your instincts more. And even I keep getting these downloads of like how I met you, right? Like I literally felt like I needed to take a call. I went on that path. I'm like, oh, I can't get reception here. So I went on this, there's a hill, and there, I knew I would get reception if I hiked up to the top of this hill. And then there was this cute couple up there, right? And I was doing my work, right? But then this cute couple came by and they stopped to take a picture, right? But they were doing a selfie. I'm like, oh, it'd be a lot better if, and my phone call just ended, right? I said, oh, it'd be a lot better if you guys just had me take your picture, right? But I listened to go up to the top of the hill, right? And that's where I met them, right? And then the next day I get a text and he's like, I know this awesome lady. He says, I know this awesome lady. And I really think that your passion, because I ended up talking to them for a while, right? Your passion and her passion would match up. I think you guys would actually be really good friends. And so I think we just have to start listening to the voice, whether it's a negative one to say, hey, move away from this, or something doesn't feel right. And even if you can't identify what it is, or like, I just felt like I should go up and get up there and just, I should offer to take their picture. These connections, just, if we just start listening and trusting ourselves more, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes that can be really difficult. It can be difficult, especially if you've had a lot of hard knocks in anything or even in life, to really begin to trust yourself. And that's where having great people in your life that mirror back to you all of the amazing qualities that you have, and walk with you on that journey is so, so important. You cannot do any business in a vacuum. You have to have good people around you, whether it's an advisory board or mentors, coaches, family, friends. You have to have people. You cannot do this in a vacuum.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, Pace says there's never been a real estate transaction or any transaction ever that happened with one person.
Exactly.
You have to have other people.
Yeah, that's your power team.
And you have to trust them.
Yeah,
I just learned that, right, Jason? I mean, they're my little audience here, but a couple of weeks ago, because I have had some trust issues in the real estate space, because there are some people that you can't trust, and they wanted the address to underwrite this property, and I'm like, you want the address? Like, trust you? So funny is I decided I did trust them, right? Because I had to decide, do I trust the people I'm in business with, right? Enough to share. And but we all have to overcome those hurdles, because you can't do it alone.
Yeah, no, you cannot. This is a team sport.
It is a team sport. I think life is a lot more fun too if you make money with your friends and get on stages with your friends, do these interviews and spread love and light with your friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like we're also connected. And I think that when we realize how connected we are, and how really nobody, and especially in this day and age, nobody is too far out of reach for you. I think with social media, and even like with God, I feel like there's so many, God can bring all the right people, but you can easily DM somebody. I DM'd somebody that's huge in the real estate space and thank them for their, John and I learned how to skip trace on, John did, I couldn't figure it out. And but I had this idea because I'd been to their house, right? It's Jerry Norton, right? He's big in flipping.
Yes.
And I was trying to figure out this skip tracing thing. I'm like, oh wait, he talked about when I was at his house, that he had this thing called PropWire, right? So I went to PropWire and I told John, I'm done trying to figure this out, but I need to have a skip trace list to do a Zoom for Pace's group, and host a Zoom, a breakout room. And I really wanted to quit, I'm being really honest with you. I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys just need to find someone else. But anyway, it was too late. I'd already tried to quit and they said, no, we really need you. And they said, you'll be able to figure it out. But I spent 4 hours. And anyway, it's so funny. John figured it out. But it's because I remembered that he had made this space, this website. And so I just wanted to thank him and his wife. And I don't like to really message people with, I copied his wife on it too. And just said, thank you for creating this because it really helped me and my husband in a tough spot so I could make calls, and then it worked out because I found people and I found deals. Like it was like a win-win. But I think that it's more accessible because the internet, you can reach out and DM anybody.
Yeah, no, it's true. We can really much quicker and easier get to whoever it is that we need to find these days. I mean, the internet really has made that a whole lot easier for us. It's changed the nature of real estate investing too. So.
Yeah, completely. Right. Okay. We have like 6 more minutes. So let me see what else. Okay. Let me see what other questions I love here.
Sure.
Hold on. Oh, how do you stay in? Someone says here, what in wealth management, what principles do you consider paramount for individuals looking to grow and safeguard their real estate portfolios?
Wow, that's another great question. I would say you need to make sure that you're structured correctly for your business. It's easy to generate money. It can be very difficult to hold on to it. So you need to make sure you're doing business in the correct entity. And I would say this because when I was first getting started, I realized 7 years into the game that I wasn't structured as advantageously as I could be. And I ended up paying out about 70,000 more in taxes than I would have if I had been in a different entity. So for wealth management, that's all about hanging on to what you're generating and having a plan for it and continuous reinvestment. So again, you need to make sure you're structured in the correct business entity. And then when money's coming in, what are you really doing with it? What are your reinvestment plans? So you've still got to have, again, I'll go back to good, knowledgeable people speaking into your life. So I've had some concepts brought to me, 2 in particular that really blew me away in terms of wealth generation and management. And that was velocity banking and infinite banking. Velocity banking, very popular over in Europe, but it's the ability to take simple interest credit lines and chunk out massive portions of collateralized debt very, very quickly. So in terms, we think a lot about, well, I've got to invest to earn money. We also need to think about the financial ecosystem we're currently sitting in. And if we have debt on things, and debt is a good thing, we need it. It's a tool that we need to survive and grow our business. But how can we manage that and take care of that so that we increase the amount of cash flow we're making? The other is, infinite banking, learning how to put yourself in a situation where you become your own bank and you never need to borrow from another institution ever again. And there are some really great mentors in the space talking about that. The small tidbit of knowledge I'll drop on you and everybody for that is you can do that by overfunding whole life insurance policies. This is a tip and a technique that many advanced real estate investors use these days. And there's no limit to how many you can have. Most of us think about life insurance being something that is there for when we pass and we leave that to our family. But what if we start to think outside the box in terms of how can I use that policy, that active policy right now to fund my real estate transactions? And it's a lot easier than people think. And it can be a lot safer than simply putting money into stocks. That money also compounds when it's out on deposit in a deal as if it was still in the account. So if I could say to people, if you want to look at how to manage your wealth, think outside the box and start looking into concepts such as these to reduce debt and become your own bank.
I love it. In fact, my life goal for wealth management is to do infinite banking for myself, for our assets. Because I just happened to hear Pace talking about it. I'm like, tell me all about that. What is that? I don't know anything about that. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And so there's so many things that people don't know, right?
Oh, yes. Well, I think there's a lot of times too, you have to realize, I don't really think in a lot of cases the big banks want us to know how to do this, because if we knew how to do these things for ourselves, we really wouldn't need them for a whole lot. So it's, you just want to find yourself again, not being the smartest person in the space and getting into spaces where you're a little bit uncomfortable with what you're hearing, but then you're getting the data points that you need to make good sound decisions. So like Colleen, now when you talk about, you're saying, oh, infinite banking, something I want to do. If that had been brought to you before your experience with PACE, would you have been less open to it?
It would have just blown right by me. I wouldn't have even known what it was, because when he said
Exactly.
it, I didn't know what it was, but I knew I didn't know what it was. And the inside, I'm like, you should find out more about that. What is that? And so I just started asking, like, tell me more about that. And
I had a great mentor once that says, and we did this with the horses. First, we make them say wow, then we make them say how. And so I love to be in a space or room with somebody that makes me say, wow, I got to know more about that. And then while that's happening, they're showing you more about it, but they're giving you all the data points that make you feel safe enough to actually step forward. And that's really what you need.
Yeah, it's good. John just showed me the times, because we have to hop off of here so we can let you hop on your next call. I love you. I think the wow how is amazing. I just love and adore you.
Thank
and
you.
I'm just thankful
Same
for
to
you. Thanks for
Same
coming
to
on.
you.
Thank you, gorgeous. And we're going to do this again.
Oh, I can't wait. I'd love to. Yeah, I would love to.
And then when I come to I'm coming to Golden Ticket Pace's thing. I think it's in Arizona at his house or at a place. And so when I come, I would love to get together with you.
Oh, absolutely. I would love it. And maybe I'll see you over at Pace's.
Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, thank you for sharing. You're just the most lovely person, and I'm just grateful for your knowledge. And I'm going to let you go, but thank you. And I survived my first audience.
You did.
My first live. This is my first live on YouTube.
So. Awesome. Yeah, you're doing a lot of firsts today in this moment. Thank you, Colleen, for having me here. I so enjoyed it.
Thank you, gorgeous, for sharing. And we're going to have part 2. We'll talk to you later, gorgeous.
I look forward to it. Thank you. See you later.
Bye, gorgeous.
Bye.
Okay, we're still here.